First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's always very rewarding to engage. I've said this a lot of times and put myself into a lot of difficulty because I say it whenever, probably coincidentally, when I'm in the CII audience, and I don't seem to have said it anywhere else. There's no conscious plan. There's no conscious plan at all, but that's been held against me. But I would say to everybody who's in industry, uh, right, that's possibly why you got your chance well after 3, 4, 5 days after the budget. But no, I don't think there was a plan at all. Um, a point that I say every year, interactions, inputs, exchange of thought, periodically looking at sectors which need greater focused study and industry's own perspective about it, other than the administration or policymakers' perspective, have all helped us immensely, particularly since the COVID and after. I think, if I can be tongue-in-cheek for a minute, the industry also has started looking at India in a far more holistic fashion, rather than look only my sector. Because, and I say this with a certain confidence, because my pre-budget consultations prior to COVID have all been, my industry is suffering, you do this. It is fair, no grievance on that. But I find now a lot more thinking about the country, pitting the country against the challenges which are facing us, and also progressively seeing what's coming out of government's budget making, the spillover, and then telling us, all right, this far, but then for further, this is what we want to tell you, which is a very constructive way of moving forward. It just doesn't help that one sector, but definitely helps in gauging the economy better. I find this shift very healthy. I find this shift also giving me the confidence that Indian industry has started actually taking into cognizance those challenges which are global, not just for India, but backward linkage for each one of your industries. And in fact, in the last few interactions that I've had with in different media houses, I've been heavily defending the Indian industry. Not because I don't believe in what I say, I honestly do believe in the arguments with which I have taken up in defense of your case. I find great sensitivity for the challenges that you're facing. And therefore, your investment plans are now a lot more calibrated, not just for expansion's sake, but also in looking at which are the technologies which are going to make you going to be consistent with the SDG goals. And if you've got to be in alignment with SDG, which is going to be the first key point for export and import considerations, your expansion cannot any longer be just the monetary consideration or the demand consideration. It is going to be, yes, demand exists, but I can't go there because there is a green barrier. And if I have to cross that, it's not by one other subsidy from the government, but your perspective on handling technology, infusing such technologies which are going to allow you to produce SDG compliant. So I've been, in fact, very much preaching that Indian industry is now going through this calibration, is really going through this churn, and therefore the decision that you're going to take is probably taking a bit more of time, but certainly going to take a bit more of money as well. And therefore, I think till now, if we thought that these are the reasons that in spite of your bringing down the corporate tax rate considerably down, if there is, as would be perceived, not that speed with which private sector coming in, that cannot hold good anymore. You will have to be SDG compliant. You will have to produce green goods. You will also have to make sure that the consumption for your inputs are also going to be guided by green considerations. Your transition for fuel from using fossil fuel to using green-based fuel, all this will have to happen all at a time, at this time. Not any one of them can be postponed for tomorrow or day after. So with these kind of challenges, post-COVID, post-Ukraine, the challenges are not just for India in a broader sense. It's the challenge for you and for us, for all of us. And we really cannot allow to soak or marinate this challenge for too long. You have to get the product out. You have to come out of it to say, I have a kind of solution, maybe not near perfect, but I know I'm trying to get closer to the last mile of SDG. And my product will possibly not face any non-tariff barrier, which are all now coming up because India, for some one or the other reason, in the first leg, funded its own green commitments. So which meant that India would invest in being a lot more renewable energy friendly. We'll produce our own renewable energy, technology for which we can obtain from somewhere, or we do it ourselves. And there are immense lot of progress even in hybrid, whether it is solar plus wind and so on. The policies have helped. But this is not going to be just one transition from fossil to, let's say, renewable, as much limited as it is in solar or in hybrid, wind. There are other things also which will keep coming towards this, getting greener and better, which is going to be cost involving, for which government can move an inch or more. But I think industry collectively will also have to work to see how best your sector is going to move forward. It's almost, there's a time when I would have thought that many countries elsewhere, not just India, but many countries, many more countries outside, this expectation on green commitments and the transitions with which industry has to move have all stunned us, as though, the glare of the light hits you in your eye. And for a moment, you're caught not knowing how to get out of the glare. But that's some time ago. India has shown that it has the capacity to see through the glare and come up with policies, fulfill those policies as well. And now I would think those who are not in those sectors of renewable energy themselves, those who are not in the area of looking at transition for mobility's sake, will now have to see that you're still not being stunned. You have to move out of it. And in that, therefore, sectorally, not just on transition from fossil fuel to renewable for your input, for your consumption, that is one thing. But there are other things as well which are going to be necessary in defining your product as green, as sustainable. So for that, I think the industry will have to come up with ideas, talk with government, and see if there are areas in which not just policy, anything else which will have to be provided. Now it is not, as they say, gross, give money there. Money can be given, but the need of the hour is give money there. There is an idea waiting to bloom, and that idea is going to have an impact over several of us. The search for the idea should be from you. The suggestion that that idea is a workable and scalable idea is got to come from you. So I would think that industry today and interaction with government will have to be futuristic. Enough of us talking about, there's a problem here, solve it. Yes, we'll do that as well. I'm not running away from it. And those are now becoming marginal, incremental. But what is that big thing which should happen? That big thing is identifying that technology and also identifying the way in which you're going to be able to, for collective purpose, fund it. And also making sure that as much as possible, that technology is born and cultivated in India. Most technologies bought are now becoming, one, obsolete. We seem to have local better solutions, but you're not able to remove that baggage from you because you've taken it on some terms, and that itself is bogging you down. So I would think that is one of the major things on which I would want engagement with industry in a lot more different plane. Lift it up. We know your run of the day problems, but we should go up to something else. That's one. And second, for the new sunrise sectors, PLI can be a good incentive. But I also think beyond PLI, is there anything that you think is that one little catalyst which can give you that leapfrogging effect? What is that? Because when even today, some of you all have mentioned about good out-of-the-box schemes which came in, but when you, from government side, try to bring in some kind of a regulation or try to tax it, it loses that charm. I think the rate in which constantly are quoted as an example where the government probably is taxing and changing the contours of what the rate were. But it did serve its purpose, and it will still serve its purpose. Either the government changes or government talks with you to see how best it can be, made attractive enough again. But there are no new such ideas for any other area. Why should it be that this beautiful idea comes for the infrastructure investment, but no, nothing else, nowhere else? Out of the box investment drawing ideas, out of the box technology drawing ideas, out of the box working together with startups to get your solutions will have to be a lot more energetic. And I find the pace at which startups and their solutions are moving, actually the solutions are for you, but you should move as fast as they do, or else you're going to be where you are and they will find newer industry or business activity for which they will come up with solutions which are going to be lucrative, and you're going to be where you are. So I would think working together with startups for thoughts for, let's say, products financial or products otherwise for your own technology requirement is the need of the hour. And you should now unhesitatingly partner to derive the benefit. But at this moment, I don't think there's anything more that I can say, because the country itself, all of us are going through a churn in the sense of readjusting ourselves in the face of huge changes that are happening, both technologically and strategically. And I'm actually very grateful that we have a leadership which is strong, which is looking forward, and which puts India's interest top of all other considerations. Otherwise, I know the media is here and they will make a headline of anything that I say in this context. But you understand that the national interest was put up top of the agenda. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had fuel coming. Energy costs were going up. We couldn't have bought in, and the recent discussions on capping the price and everything else. But because of the leadership strength and the direction, and also the way Honorable Prime Minister has engaged with leaders globally, we are able to now get fuel continuously, far cheaper, far lesser than anywhere else. And hasn't that helped us? And similarly, on many other, getting, fertilizers, making sure that our exports go without any disruptions, globally being able to take a call, take a position, stand by it, are all in the interest of our country. And that's where I think we're very fortunate at a time like this, when so much is churning all over the world, we are able to have a leadership which gives us the strength to be able to stand up and do for ourselves what is best suited for this country. So in that, your role is no less for all the engagement that you have with different country partners that you have, whether it's the USIBC or USIS CF, or whether it is with UK, whether it is with Japan, Korea, or any other country. Business partnerships have actually given greater traction for government policies in the formulation and also in the execution. I would want you to keep in touch with your counterparts, global counterparts, feel the pulse of what's happening, and give us the feedback so that all of us can work together for this critical period in which we are all together in it. Thank you very much.
As we come to an end, let me once again, on behalf of all of us over here at CII, thank the Honorable Finance Minister for her time as always, for patiently hearing all our suggestions, answering our questions, and also now her call to industry to think beyond our sectors, but let's think creatively, innovatively, and see how we can shoulder to shoulder with the government focus on India's progress, focus on India's future together.